Hands behind your back, Grandpa, or do we need to cuff you twice? The old man didn't argue, didn't flinch, just placed his cane on the ground and let them take his wrist steady. Quiet, resigned. They thought they'd bagged another vagrant. An hour later, 3 phones rang at once inside the precinct. Then came the silence, because when the Pentagon calls your station by name, you realize the man in holding wasn't a mistake, he was a warning. If you believe silence isn't weakness, comment respect below. Cal Morgan adjusted his weathered cap against the morning chill. 79 years had etched deep lines across his face, each one a story he never told. His routine never changed. Up at 5:30. Dressed by 6 feet, the neighborhood knew his silhouette tall, despite the year's shoulders still square beneath his faded brown coat. Those ancient military boots clicking steadily alongside his maple cane. "Morning, Walt," Mrs. Redmond called from her porch. Same as every day. He nodded his version of conversation. The locals called him Old Walt, a harmless fixture of Pine Street. Children whispered he was a spy. Adults assumed he was just another veteran with memories too heavy to share. Nobody knew for certain. Cal never corrected them either way. This particular Tuesday began like any other until he passed Donovan's Liquor at 7:23 a.m. The store's front window displayed a spider web of cracks. Glass scattered across the sidewalk. Cal paused, assessed the damage with military precision, then continued toward the bus stop. Force of habit. Observe, analyze, move on. What Cal didn't know, Donovan's had been robbed 15 minutes earlier. The surveillance camera captured only a blurry silhouette. Tall, elderly brown coat, walking with something in hand. The panicked clerk's description matched Cal's profile almost perfectly. Squad car 1117 rounded the corner just as Cal reached the bus stop. Inside, officers Reyes and Dawson, 3 months out of academy, spotted him immediately. "That's got to be him," Dawson said, hitting the lights. They approached with hands on holsters, adrenaline making their voices sharp. "Stop right there, hands where I can see them." Cal stopped, slowly, deliberately. He placed his cane on the ground. "I said, hands up," Reyes shouted, misreading calm for defiance. Cal raised his weathered hands steady as they'd been in foxholes 50 years prior. Not a tremble, not a word. "On your knees," Dawson barked. Cal's knees hadn't bent properly since 73, but he lowered himself anyway, joints protesting silently. Locals gathered at the commotion, confused faces, muttered concerns. A college student started recording. Nobody intervened as Cal was handcuffed, rights recited to his unresponsive face, then guided into the back seat like cargo. At the station, the processing desk, Sergeant barely looked up. "Name?" Cal said nothing. "Playing tough, huh? Fine." The sergeant took his wallet, found his ID. "Cal T. Morgan, 79. Got ourselves a real chatty one." Cal's eyes remained fixed on middle distance, seeing something far beyond the station walls. The fluorescent lights highlighted the map of wrinkles on his face, each one earned in jungles, deserts, in covert operations that would never make history books. Fingerprints, mugshot, personal effects cataloged, a handkerchief, $3 in quarters, a brass pocket watch with initials he wouldn't explain. The booking officer noted with mild surprise how steady the old man's hands remained throughout the process. Not a tremor despite his age. They placed him in holding cell 3, where he sat perfectly still, hands resting on his knees, eyes fixed on the wall. He didn't demand his phone call, didn't ask for water, didn't speak a single word of protest, just waited as he'd been trained to do long ago. Back at Donovan's Liquor officer, Martinez interviewed a second witness who'd just come forward. "The guy I saw definitely had a limp," the witness insisted, pointing to security footage, "but he wasn't using any cane. He moved quick for an old guy, like the limp was an act." Martinez frowned, radioing dispatch. "We might have the wrong suspect." The perp had a pronounced limp, no walking aid. Meanwhile, Detective Laramie reviewed the blurry footage again. Something caught her eye. The suspect's jacket had a torn right sleeve. She picked up her phone. At the station, Officer Jessica Chen was 3 hours into her shift when curiosity got the better of her. The silent old man bothered her. Most perps complained, demanded lawyers, or tried to out of place. She pulled up his file. Cal Thomas Morgan, DOB, 3/17/1946. Address, in the quiet part of town. No priors, military ID number. On a whim, she typed his name into her phone's search engine. The results loaded. Chen's coffee mug slipped from her fingers, shattering on the floor. "Oh my God," she whispered. The search returned multiple results. Major General Cal T. Morgan Medal of Honor recipient, classified operations specialist, Cal Morgan, honored at Pentagon ceremony, heroism under fire, the untold story of Operation Phantom Fury. She clicked the first link, hands trembling. There he was, 40 years younger but unmistakable, in full dress uniform, receiving the nation's highest military honor from a former president, Major General Cal Thomas Morgan, 3 tours in Vietnam, subsequent classified operations, commander of special forces during the Battle of Fallujah, recipient of the Medal of Honor, 2 silver stars and decorations. Chen didn't even recognize. The man they had in holding wasn't just any veteran, he was a living legend. Chen rushed to her sergeant's desk phone, extended. "Sir, we've made a terrible mistake." As if on cue, the station's phones began ringing simultaneously. The front desk, the chief's direct line, even the rarely used emergency line in the break room. Chief Rollins answered his line, expression shifting from annoyance to shock. "Yes, this is Chief Rollins. Who am I speaking with?" His face drained of color. "Yes, sir, Pentagon, sir. I understand." The voice on the other end was calm, but carried unmistakable authority. "You're currently holding Major General Cal T. Morgan, is that correct, Chief Rollins?" Powell swallowed hard. "He was brought in this morning under suspicion of release him immediately and apologize personally." "Sir, we have procedures that Chief Rollins," the voice continued. "General Morgan has security clearance levels that would make your head spin in the next 30 seconds. Your mayor, your governor, and your congressional representative will all be calling you. I suggest you free the general before they do." Chen didn't wait for orders. She rushed to holding security card trembling in her hand, the locked beep door swinging open. Cal Morgan sat exactly as they'd left him, perfect posture, hands on knees. Chen snapped to attention, a reflex she didn't know she possessed. "Sir, I'm so sorry, we didn't know." Cal looked up slowly. "I know," he said quietly, his first words since arrest. Chief Rollins arrived with the 2 rookie officers in tow, faces pale with realization. "General Morgan, on behalf of the department, I offer our most sincere." Cal raised his hand slightly. The chief fell silent. "Mistakes happen," Cal said, voice rough from disuse, "but choices reveal character." He turned to the rookies who'd cuffed him. Neither could meet his gaze. "If you can't tell the difference between a threat and a veteran," he said softly, "maybe the badge is too heavy." The words landed like artillery. Powell escorted Cal personally to process his release, apologizing profusely with every step. Cal signed the form with steady hands, retrieved his belongings and walked out. No threats of lawsuits, no demands for justice, just the quiet dignity of a man who'd seen too much to be rattled by a mere misunderstanding. The college student's video hit social media by nightfall. 15 seconds of an elderly man being handcuffed became the match that lit a powder keg. That's General Morgan. They arrested a Medal of Honor recipient. This man led Ghost Team in Fallujah, and they treated him like trash. Look at how he doesn't even resist. That's the definition of discipline. My grandfather served under him in '68. Said Morgan was the only reason half the company made it home. The video accumulated 2 million views by midnight. National media picked up the story by morning. Veterans groups shared his service photo alongside the arrest footage. The contrast was devastating. The decorated hero versus the silent old man on his knees. Military forums exploded with accounts from those who'd served alongside him. Stories locked away for decades, suddenly finding voice in his defense. The local Veterans of Foreign Wars chapter posted a statement that went viral. "Cal Morgan has carried his silence for decades. Perhaps we shouldn't have carried ours." By afternoon, news vans lined Cal's modest street. Reporters crowded his porch. Neighbors formed a protective barrier, turning journalists away. Cal remained inside, blinds drawn. The next morning, they found a handwritten note taped to his door. "No interviews, no noise. Let it fade." But the world wasn't ready to let it fade. Flowers appeared on his doorstep. Letters of apology from strangers. A hand-carved eagle from a local woodworker. Veterans drove from neighboring states just to stand vigil outside his home. A silent honor guard for a man who never asked for recognition. Mayor Caldwell arrived unannounced at Cal's door 3 days later, flanked by aides and a photographer. "General Morgan," she began when Cal finally answered, "I want to personally apologize for this terrible incident. We're prepared to issue a formal statement and hold a public ceremony recognizing your service and the injustice you experienced." Cal studied her, then the camera hovering nearby. "Make your changes," he said firmly, "not your speeches." The mayor left without her photo up. The next week, without fanfare, the police department issued new protocols for veteran interactions. The training program was developed in consultation with VFW leadership. Every officer would receive specialized training on recognizing PTSD and indicators, military body language, and proper engagement techniques with former service members. Chief Rollins went further. He established a new community liaison program, pairing officers with local veterans for ride-alongs and cultural exchange. The two rookies who arrested Cal were assigned as the first participants, not as punishment, but as education. Officer Kent, the younger of the two, couldn't sleep after the incident. After a week of agonizing, he drove to Cal's house alone, off-duty, no uniform. Cal answered on the third knock. "Sir," Dawson began, the voice cracking. "I know an apology isn't enough, but I need you to know how deeply sorry I am." Cal studied him, then stepped aside. "Coffee." They sat in Cal's sparse living room, surrounded by modest furniture and precisely arranged military memorabilia. No photographs, no family portraits, just medals in shadow boxes and folded flags in triangular cases. "I became a cop to protect people," Dawson confessed, "but I hurt you instead." Cal considered this. Fear makes weapons of good intentions. How do I fix that? By remembering that authority is borrowed, not owned. When Dawson rose to leave an hour later, Cal pressed something into his palm, a challenge coin worn smooth from decades of handling, the Special Forces insignia barely visible on its face. "It's not yours yet," Cal said, "but you're on your way." Dawson clutched it like a lifeline. The media eventually moved on. The social media storm subsided, but something had shifted in the community. A quiet awareness, a recalibration of respect. November 11th dawned cold and clear. Veterans Day. Cal rose at his usual time, dressed with military precision, pressed slacks, polished shoes, his service medals arranged perfectly on his best coat. He placed his cap on carefully combed white hair and walked to Memorial Park just as the sun crested the horizon. The war memorial stood silent against the morning light, black granite etched with names of the fallen from conflicts spanning a century. Cal had come here every November 11th for decades, always alone, always at dawn. He approached slowly, cane tapping a solemn rhythm. At the base of the monument he stopped, straightened his back and rendered a perfect salute, held for a full minute, despite the arthritis screaming in his shoulder. When he lowered his arm, he heard footsteps behind him. Cal turned to find Officer Chen standing at a respectful distance. Behind her stood Dawson and Reyes in civilian clothes. Then came faces he didn't recognize. Veterans from across 3 generations wearing caps and jackets that told stories of different wars, different sacrifices. No cameras, no reporters, no speeches prepared. One by one, they formed a semicircle around the memorial. Nobody spoke, nobody needed to. A Vietnam veteran with a POW MIA patch stepped forward. He met Cal's eyes, understanding, passing between them, the silent language of those who've seen things they can never explain. He raised his hand in a salute. Cal returned at his tired arm, finding strength from somewhere deep within. For 30 minutes they stood together in the strengthening sunlight. No words were exchanged, none were necessary, just the quiet communion of those who understood service and sacrifice. As the regular Veterans Day ceremony preparations began in the distance, the impromptu gathering dissolved as silently as it had formed. Handshakes, nods of respect, then they were gone. Cal walked home alone as always, but something had changed in his step. That evening as darkness fell, a car stopped briefly outside his house. A figure emerged, placed something on his porch, then disappeared into the night. Cal found it later, a hand-carved wooden wreath with a folded flag nestled at its center. Burned into the wood a single word, respect. He brought it inside, placed it carefully on his mantle. Cal never spoke publicly about the arrest, never sought compensation or fame, never capitalized on the brief attention his story had generated. Some said it was pride. Those who truly understood knew it was humility. The cane forged in battlefields, where medals meant less than the man beside you. He simply resumed his quiet walks, his solitary routine, yet neighbors noticed subtle changes, a slighter nod and greeting, occasionally a word or two. The rigid isolation had softened just barely like winter, yielding reluctantly to the first whispers of spring. But at the police station, things had changed permanently. In the briefing room, hung a new plaque, not a warning of what not to do, but a reminder of what to aspire to. Below Cal's name and rank was inscribed a simple phrase: dignity cannot be arrested. Every rookie who entered training now heard the story not as department shame, but as transformative lesson. And in Officer Kent's pocket, a challenge coin waited to be earned. A daily reminder that some of life's most powerful lessons come without a single word being spoken. Subscribe to Steelheart Stories if you believe silence is the mark of those who've already earned their place.